You miss all of the training. You miss all of the free books. You miss all of the webinars. You miss all of the opportunities to meet and greet people because you are heads down in your computer and in your feelings, right? So once you move up, just change a 45-degree angle. That's all you need. And one or two people. That's it. Find somebody who will help you get in the circle and you're good, right? You'll know when people are coming with good training because they come to your office or they send you an instant message. Girl, so and so is doing a webinar today. You better get on it, right? Look for those people to help extend their relationship equity to you.
Hello and welcome to the Bold Black Girls Podcast. I'm Aries.
And I'm Kim.
And we are back.
New year, new me. Who this?
Who this? And we are together. I know y'all aren't used to seeing that.
Yes. We're back live and in person. We've been on separate locations for what? The past, since March. With the exception of July when we were at the cabins.
Yes, we did. And, we have a chemistry that needs to be there. I'm sorry. We're not used to this.
And, sometimes I feel like I've had Zoom fatigue.
Definitely. Because you're already Zooming at work and Zooming at this and that. So it's like, we need that in person.
Just fatigue from technology, period.
Definitely. So we're back. We're here for season 3. So much going on. I was off work for 2 weeks, so I was rested and chilling, taking a break. And as soon as I came back last week, we were in a conference all week. Speaking about Zoom fatigue, we were in an online virtual conference, which was supposed to be in person. So I had my 1-year work anniversary this week.
Oh, that's right. It was a year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what were you doing over the holidays?
So I was not off like you, right? So I still worked, but it was okay because we're at home and I'm in a new role, new company. So I wasn't too upset about it. And they have flexibility. So I kind of, where else we going to go but from the bedroom to the office?
True. And we had nowhere to go anyway.
It's nowhere to go. Nowhere I'm interested in going.
Right. There's places to go because people out here in these streets. Look, I'm not mad at y'all, but hey, do you? I'm not comfortable. So that's just where I'm at. I definitely got invited to a few things and I was like, oh no, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah, but no.
I did too.
I'm not ready.
Not ready.
We ain't ready. Yeah. As a country, as a world. We get them vaccines. Everybody,
I was gonna say, are you getting it?
Y'all go get your vaccines. Everybody get their vaccines. My parents said they're gonna get it though. So
yeah,
she's like, well, it's either because we did have a death in our kind of extended family, someone who we know close, and their husband passed away
from COVID.
They over the Thanksgiving holiday, one of those family members came up in there with it, and both of them, they're older, got it. The wife didn't have symptoms. The husband did. He already had asthma, and he passed. So that was just like, again, that's one of the reasons why we try to stay away because our kids are around the grandparents a lot, pretty much all week and during the weekend. So it's like, I can't afford that. So, anywho, on a lighter note, we are starting the new year. I'm excited about our Bold Black Girl of the Month. We are too. Blessing y'all with her early.
Yes. So she is just amazing. It's a great way to kick off the year.
Yes.
Rat-a-tat-tat-tat.
You'll know what that means once we get there.
Yes. She is always full of a wealth of knowledge. Always, as Amanda Seale says, gem dropping.
Gem dropping. Hey, gem dropping.
And every time we talk to her, I think we walk away with just so much fuel.
Yes.
Right? It's like she fills us up like we fill up our gas tanks.
Exactly. She's on point, and she always is giving us so much. I'm like, we need to give her some stuff. We at this point, it's time to give her some stuff.
Yes.
So,
she is like the fairy godmother.
She is the fairy godmother. She blesses us on a regular basis.
Sprinkling her.
Sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me. I didn't get to talk to y'all about the versus battle with E40 Inch Too Short.
Gosh.
You know, I wasn't here because we were on our hiatus, but y'all know I was turned all the way up because that was like a dream. It was so amazing.
Representing for the Bay.
Definitely. They killed it. They were like in the top 3 of all the verses as far as numbers.
Oh,
so
wow.
got to put that out there. Anywho, so do you have your word yet for the year? I don't have mine yet.
So I do not. I think I have it. I think I'm there. I'm
You're
still
working. Okay.
waiting on confirmation.
Come on, get that confirmation. Jesus.
My process is I write down like 5 words, kind of like what we did. We did an exercise on matching values.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that as well for the word. Like I'll write down 5 and then it's like, okay, process of elimination. But I try and figure out how does this word align in every aspect of my life.
Yes, alignment.
Yeah. So it's not yet confirmed. Still waiting on confirmation. What about you?
So our core values, we did a core, real quick, we did a core values assessment, which I think people should do. We got it from Brene Brown. She has a list of values. So me and Kim were like, let's go. We're going to both look at the values. We're going to pick our top 10 and then we're going to see what we have the same. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
out of 10
the same. So I was like, see, that's why we friends.
Right.
I'm like, we need to do these with these dudes too while you're playing.
And do it with yourself first, because I'm going to tell you, I did this in therapy. And you know how sometimes you say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I had that book with the list of values. Did not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Signed up for therapy. She says, this is your homework.
Yes.
Right? And so then I was like, we have to do it.
So we did it. Faith and spirituality. That was one. Authenticity. Family and friends / community. Humor, which I thought was funny. Trust and honesty and wisdom. So those were ones that we were like, we're going to hold that. We're going to keep that for the podcast. Because we were really trying to set our vision and mission and things like that as we get ready for this new season. We talked about how, people who don't know us, who might be just coming to us, the bold is not just us being bold Black girls. We are bold Black girls. But bold is about building communities for support of Black women. Organizing these courageous conversations. We're talking about stuff that people are not always talking about. Learning together. We're giving y'all everything we bring to the podcast is stuff that we're getting too. We are our own customer.
We're sharing our wisdom.
We are our own customer, basically. So, and then development, personal, professional, spiritual. So when we were talking about vision, it was like we want to really empower, Black women to live a fulfilled life, spiritually, personally, and professionally. Like that's the vision that we saw for this podcast going into it. So just want to, as you see people that we bring on this show, it is not just to be just bringing people on the show. It is for the purpose of trying to empower you as we empower ourselves. This is stuff, we're our own audience. We're our own customers. So we hope that you are blessed by what we bring you this season.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and hop in because we got all the info for you. Get your pens and your paper.
Go get your
and
journal.
your notebook, your journal, whatever you take notes on. Because LaToya Haynes, who is our Bold Black Girl of the month of January, is about to come in with all the gems. So we hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back. We are excited for this. Is our new favorite segment, which is Bold Black Girl of the Month, that we are bringing in early this month because we have this woman who is just a bad one. We love her. We have grown to know her over the years through our moving and shaking out here networking. Kim and I, we always go to their networking events are like the best. They have wine, they have food,
cheese,
they,
great dessert,
everything, and great conversation and people. So
great content. And let me tell you, I don't miss networking, but I do miss Intuit's networking. Okay,
yes.
I don't miss everybody's networking, but it is Intuit's that I miss going to.
Yes,
We
so
miss
we're
y'all
excited.
too.
Oh.
So we want to tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll get into this conversation because it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. So, LaToya Haynes is the director of racial equity at Intuit, the makers of QuickBooks, Mint, and TurboTax. Our taxes are coming up. She holds a bachelor's degree in business management from Southern University A&M College and a master's degree in organizational development and executive coaching from the University of Texas. She has over 20 years of professional work experience in production supervision, purchases, and human resources. LaToya is a published author and a professional certified coach. She is a mother of 2 daughters, Jade, 15, and Kennedy, 11, and she's been married for 19 years. Welcome, LaToya.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
We're so
Aries and
happy to
Kim, for
have you
having me.
here.
Happy
Yes.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
We really have like leaned on you kind of as a mentor, as you're like informally our own coach as well. Because we're like, wait, girl, we get on the phone with her, we talking for hours. We're like, okay,
Hours.
we got to just bring this to the podcast because what we want to do for our listeners, although we are also, amplifying your voice and like where you are and what you're doing, we want to bring to them what we getting, right? It's
Absolutely.
not like we're trying to tell them what they need to do. We're learning
Yes.
as well. So we're bringing all that learning onto the podcast so that we can also share that with our audience as well. So
Yes.
we're going to get into it.
Let's do it.
And LaToya is a wealth of information.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So
yes.
we first met, like you said, at Intuit. And then I started going to different events. She had these presentations where I'm like taking pictures I'm like, okay, what's that? Let me get a zoom in and take a picture. It's just information you can just take back and use and apply to yourself. Relatable.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing about this is making sure that we're able to provide information to people and they can share it with other people because
Yes.
that's how you make change and that's how you improve systems and that's how you get your money, that's how you get your promotions, that's how you get the advocacy that you need to have the professional career that you want.
Yes.
I love it.
So let's hop into that since you just kind of segued us into how we can start setting goals. Because I think when we get into roles, I know I used to feel like, okay, I got this job. They are going to tell me what happens next. I'm going to just like automatically move into, they're going to see how awesome I am. And then I'm going to go up this path. This is how I came in, when I first started, a young, 20-year-old, and I'm like, yes, and I'm going to be amazing. And they're going to be like, we want you to move into this new role, right?
Yes.
And that is not what happened. So
No.
how should we be taking control of this and really setting these goals, for our career?
So the first thing that I would say is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You need a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Day one, when you accept a role, you should have a preliminary draft of what your next role is. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to move into the next role in 6 months or a year even, but you should already know a little bit about where you think you want to go next, right? So what I tell people is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? And if
Yes.
you're always prepared, then you can address the people that are coming for you because your plan is laid and set, right? Then you just have to make tweaks versus creating a brand new plan from scratch. So stay ready and you don't have to get ready is one of the things that I preach to everyone that I coach or anyone that's a newbie that, seeks mentorship out from me. And I think the way that you do that is the first thing that you have to do is the self-evaluation. You need to know your skills and experience, your weaknesses and your strengths, and you need to always be upskilling. You need to find out what everybody else is learning, whatever books people are reading. You need to be reading those books. You need to be listening to the podcast. Who are they following on Twitter? Who's in their LinkedIn connections so that you are up to date and relevant. If you are not relevant, you miss these opportunities. And to your point, Aries, around, hey, I start off and I'm going to be this amazing person, and somebody is going to pick me up and take me to promotional heaven. And that's where all the money is and all the amenities and all of that. People don't pick you up if you're not performing, number one.
So true.
So you have to do your job. Not only do it, but leave it better than it was when you received it. So every job that you enter, regardless of the company, regardless of the manager, you need to make at least 2 monumental contributions in that role. Like if everything was manual, automate something, right? So look for ways that you can make the job better than what it was when you received it.
I love
So
that.
do the job, but do it better. And then I think that second piece where people will pick you up is you have to self-promote.
Yes.
Like if you're not saying that you have good stuff, nobody else is.
And you know how we would, and I don't know if this is cultural, I don't know what it is, but trying not to sound like you're doing all that, that doesn't work in corporate. I used to be that way. I'm like, doing all the stuff, right? I'm making it better.
Yes.
I'm automating processes. I'm changing this,
Yes.
methods and procedures and doing all these things. But then you don't want to say, you don't want to sound like you're bragging on yourself,
you want
right?
to be humble.
But you got to do it.
So
I'm
look,
like,
blow
everybody
the
else
horn,
is doing it.
blow the horn, but don't blow it so that it's loud and obnoxious, right?
Exactly.
But you want to toot that horn enough so that people notice you, right? And the most important thing is if you don't care for yourself, nobody else is, right? So
true.
you have to show people that you are self-confident and you are aware of what competencies and skills that you have, right? So you don't have to be, too assertive and too aggressive. You don't have to be one of these people out on the side of the street with the sign, flipping the sign and doing extra. Like we don't need you to do extra, but you need to be able to articulate to people your contributions to the business so that they will repeat it, right?
Yes.
If you just say, I came to work, like I'm here, that's not enough. Like, what did you do, right? How have you contributed to the business goals? What are your contributions? If you're able to articulate those things, then people go like, hey, y'all see Aries over there? I want her on my team, right? But if you're not saying it, nobody else is saying it. So people don't know. So you're often overworked and you're overlooked, right? Because you take the extra projects. We are known for taking all the extra work, right? You have your 6 projects and you take 2 more because you think if you take 2 more, people will say, man, look at Kim with 8 projects and everybody else on the team has 4. She's outperforming. That's not what they say. They label you a workhorse and you get more work.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Versus those people who are taking the time in the meetings to talk about their contributions to the business, or when they're at lunch with their sponsors, their mentors, they're taking the time to say, hey, this is what I did to contribute to the team's, contribution to the overall goal, right? And then people go like, okay, I want to work with somebody that's contributing, right? I don't want to work with somebody that's just here, working. I want somebody that's able to move the needle, right? To help me make these contributions, to help me accelerate timelines, get this money, right? That's the focus, and that's what people want to see. Again, you don't have to flip the sign and do all the extra twirls, but you need to be able to articulate your contribution. So what I tell people is when the radar goes around, I need to see your beacon. I need to see it flashing. I need to know you're there. I need to know you're contributing to the business. And when I see you, then I can pick you up and take you to places that you don't know you need to go.
All right. Come on now. It's like you just came with us a sermon, and I can actually relate, LaToya, in terms of the overlooked and overworked. And I had to get smart about my work and strategic. I remember my manager at the time, she's like, what do you want to work on? And I was very specific in knowing what I wanted to work on. And towards the end of my last few years at this previous company, I started turning down projects because I'm like, this is going to take away from the strategic work that I'm doing. What value is this adding if I take on this work?
Right. And that's the word, Kim, it's strategic. So your plan needs to be strategic. How you self promote, it needs to be strategic. It is okay to turn down roles. Don't just say no, give a reason, right? Because if people are offering you, they see something in you, right?
Yes.
You want to get the offers. You want the leaders to come and say, I want you on my team. So it's okay to say no, but give the reason why. So I've had people to come to me and offer me things and I've said no. But I never just say, oh, no, that's not for me. I don't want to do that. What I'll say is, hey, I appreciate you offering. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a role that'll allow me to manage people, or I'm looking for a role that'll put me on one of the strategic initiatives, right? And
Yes.
the reason I'm saying no to this is because I have to have that strategic initiative on my dossier so that people know I'm ready for the next level, right? And
I
people
love
go,
it.
okay, right? And when they see that strategic initiative slot come open, they go, LaToya, it's open. That's what you wanted, right? So that's
Yes.
the difference. Don't just say no, right? I want you to be strategic and pick the things that are right for you. Don't say yes to everything because then you just get overworked again, right? Be strategic. And when you have to say no, explain to people what you want and what you're looking for, because oftentimes they're in the places and spaces that you're not, and they can see it and grab it for you, right? You want the person in the room saying, Aries said she wanted a strategic project. That's Aries' spot, right? That's what you want versus them letting it pass you by. And then you're all in your feelings again because you see somebody else get that spot and you're mad. Like, why didn't LaToya, why didn't you give me the spot? Well, you didn't tell me. You just told me you didn't want what I had. Right. So you have to make sure you give people the reason so that they can look for you and bring those opportunities to you.
You
And
are
let me
absolutely
back us up a
right.
little bit because I really want you to share with us a little bit about your journey and like how'd you get all this knowledge? Like you are
Yes.
a black woman just like us, so
Yes.
when you were coming up, like did you have mentors? Did you have people that like pulled you to the side and said, "Hey, this is you're doing this wrong, do it right." Like
Absolutely.
give us a peek into
So
your
I'm only a
world.
little bit further up the road than y'all because I've made all of the mistakes, right? I'm a middle child. I'm not afraid of nothing. So I have stepped into places and spaces I had no business. I've said all the wrong things. I've done all the wrong things. I've rolled my eyes and said no and sometimes said hell no and all the other kind of stuff, right? Not knowing any better. So to give you an example, in one of my previous employers, I was struggling to get promoted, right? I was focused on performance. I was outperforming everybody, honestly. And that's the truth. That's not conceit. I had
Mhm.
17 projects. The next person on my team had 7. I'm working until 8 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm killing everything that they give me, right? That rat tat 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 kind of motion.
Yes.
I am all about performance. And nobody is going to work as hard as I am, and nobody is going to kill it and have the endurance and stamina and loyalty and faithfulness for the work that I have. So that's my kind of recipe. So that's what I was doing, right? Working, 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 working. But I wasn't getting promoted. Had gone up for promotion 3 times and was denied 3 times. And I was upset and mad and ready to quit. So I was in my office and I was having one of those ugly days. And another person came to me and said, he was in the promotion meeting, and he came to me and he said, essentially, why are you mad? And I said, because this is the 3rd time and I got looked over again for promotion. So I'm out. I'm going to pack my stuff. I'm going to quit and I'm going to go find me another job. And he closed my office door and he said, you got 5 minutes to get out of your feelings and come down the hallway to my office. And I was mad. You know, when black women get mad, you cry. And it's
Oh,
not
Mhm.
because you're hurt, but because you don't want to hurt somebody and really lose your job. So I was in that
yes.
place. And I took the 5 minutes and I got myself together. I was mad at him for even telling me I needed to get myself together, right? And I went down the hall to his office and I walked in his office and he said, close the door. And I closed the door. And he said, sit down. And I sat down. And he said, why are you mad? And I said, I told you why I was mad. I was very matter of fact. I was still in my feelings. And he said, do you want me to tell you why they're looking over you for promotion and why you've been passed over 3 times? And I said, yeah, tell me.
Like that.
Real
You said it like that.
snake. Yes, exactly like that. Yeah, tell me something I don't know, right? And he said, you are not advocating for yourself. And no one in that room cares about promoting you because all you do is ask for more work. You have never asked for a promotion or given them a reason to think you can perform at the next level. I was about ready to rip his hair out and my hair out. I was still in my feelings. And he started talking me through the promotion process, the people in the room, the conversations that they have, the things that those people who were career sponsors for people were actually saying in the room. And then he said, "This is what your conversation sounds like." LaToya is now leading 17 projects. She's managing 32 supplier relationships, and she's exceeding our expectations as a level one manager.
Wow.
And then the floor was opened. Does anyone want to give any data on LaToya being promoted to a level two manager? And it was crickets, he said. Nobody said anything. And I was like, well, why aren't they saying anything? Because I have more work than any level one manager and half of the level twos that they promoted. Like I should already be
A
a
level
level
two.
two manager, if not a level three, right? I'm getting all in my feelings. And he was
Right.
like, that's true. But how often in the meetings do you actually articulate how you've moved the needle? And I was like, never, because this means stupid, right? All in my feelings, not doing the right things. And so he started to coach me and mentor me and be that person to say, this is how you show up in the room. This is what you say when you're in the room. This is how you start to proactively manage that promotion conversation even before the promotion meeting is happening, right? He started talking to me and educating me on the game, if you will, and the
Mm-hmm.
process and the people that I needed to make sure knew what I was capable of and how I was contributing to the business. And then it was like a light bulb popped on in my head, and I started just automatically firing and doing those things, making sure I had weekly updates to my managers, asking people for feedback, showing people via email my response to the feedback. Hey, these are the things I've put in place to address this issue. I started going to networking events and coaching other people and sharing training with other people. And then when it was time for promotion the next go round, there was no conversation. Everybody said it's unanimous. She's overqualified for manager two. And I
Wow.
was like, finally, thank you. Yes, I finally made it, right? But if I didn't have that person to start to educate me, I would have doubled down on that performance bucket. I would have never done any of the image and exposure things I needed to do. I wouldn't have done the networking, and I would still be in my feelings and still managing more work than anybody else at a level one and watching everybody wave and move past me and up the ladder and into stretch assignments and everywhere else if he didn't stop me. So I'm very thankful for that conversation.
Getting out
That was
of our
powerful.
feelings.
Yeah,
It's hard.
it is
It is
hard.
hard. I agree with everything you're saying because I was doing the same thing.
Ditto.
I literally am everything you described yourself as me.
Copy
Like,
paste.
I'm saying everything. I don't want to go to this. I don't care about what they're talking about. It was just like I'm doing all this work. And so I could definitely attest to everything that you're saying.
Yes.
When we started this podcast, one of our first guests was Minda Hartz.
Love
And
Minda and her book. Yes, the
yes,
memo.
and so we, kind of got into that conversation about networking because that is a real thing. You may
It's
not
game
like,
changer.
yeah, you may not like your boss or your coworkers or whatever.
Absolutely.
That has nothing to do with what you need to do.
Not at
It's like
all.
they're not going to get to know you outside of this workhorse stuff you're doing
Yes.
if you don't attend these events.
Yeah, if you are
You got to
heads
do it.
down working, you miss all the juiciness that a corporate environment has to offer you.
That's true.
Yeah.
You miss all the food.
Oh, the
You
good
miss
food.
all the snacks all the time. You miss all the t-shirts and
The
cups and
content.
all of this. You miss all of the
Yes.
training. You miss all of the free books. You miss all of the webinars. You miss all of the opportunities to meet and greet people because you are heads down in your computer and in your feelings, right? So
Yes.
once you move up, just change a 45-degree angle. That's all you need. And one or two people. That's it. Find somebody who will help you get in the circle and you're good, right? You'll know when people are coming with good training because they come to your office or they send you an instant message. Girl, so and so is doing a webinar today. You better get on it, right? Look for
Yes.
those people to help extend their relationship equity to you,
I
right?
love it.
That's all you need. And then you start asking your questions, right? What do you need to do? And it's not always about promotion, it's also about stretch assignments. It's also about making sure that you're having access to training and development, right? So before you can get promoted, you got to make sure you have the skills, right? The game changes every level and dependent upon the people. When I started in corporate America, when dinosaurs were still around is what my children seem to think, right? When I started, everybody was playing checkers, right? One move at a time. Maybe you get a triple move. Then it started with Queen's Gambit and chess, right? And
Right.
everybody was watching who's moving the queen, who's moving the king. What are you doing here, right? Then it changed to like Sudoku, right? You got to get the numbers in the line and they have to
Yes.
horizontal and vertical. And, there's only so many pieces that can go in certain places. So the game consistently, and it will always change. And the players change as people retire and new people come in and people get
Right.
promoted. So you have to make sure that you are watching, you're listening, you're observing. And the other thing I tell people is you're playing politics whether you realize it or not. You might be
are for
inactive,
sure.
but you're playing, right?
Or it's playing you.
Yep.
One or
And
the other.
that is so good in terms of like just having that forward thinking as well about where you want to go, what's your next move. Because I started in a new role.
Mhm.
And as you know, since we're talking about career growth,
Yes.
one of the questions that I have, and I know a lot of people who are still at the same company or people that have been in their companies for a long time.
Mhm.
In that role that you were in, how long did it take you to get promoted? And how long did you stay at that company before you decided
So
it was time to
in
leave?
that role, it took me 3 years before I got my first promotion.
Okay.
But after the first one, I got another promotion the next 3 years in a row.
So
Like
every
In a
year.
row?
Every year.
every year. After I had that conversation and the light bulb went off and I figured out what I needed to do, I was moving and grooving. Like I was working with hot fish grease, okay? I knew all the people. I knew what assignments I needed to be on. I had all of the great people managers. I was making my managers look good and their managers. Like I had the formula and I was working it, right? But it took me 3 years to get the first promotion. And then after that, I was a rocket ship. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Okay.
But to
So,
answer the second part of your question, how long is too long?
yes, how
You
long is
got
too
to
long?
listen to your gut, right? Your intuition is your best asset professionally and personally. It's just like bad relationships.
Amen, sis.
When your head go to the side and you go like, that wasn't right, you don't go back, right? It's the same thing in a corporate environment. So if the culture doesn't feel right and you feel like, hey, I can't be my best self here, or the role isn't the right role, it may be too low of a role or too high of a role or too demanding and causing you to come out of your character, you need to go. But
Okay.
don't leave until you have something else.
Of course.
A lot
yes.
of people leave and they don't have something, and you don't know with this market what will happen to you. And so maybe you have a little bit of money on the side or something, but you move through that too quick. And then you're acting out of desperation, right? And I've
Ooh,
seen some
yep.
people do some things out of desperation that hurt their forward movement. They take a step down, they go into a different industry or some things that are kind of off that strategic plan, and that can hurt you. So don't leave until you have something else that's supporting your strategic plan.
100% agree with that. I think that's where that strategic plan, you got to start with the foundation, right? Like, because that's where I feel like they'll be like, well, I think I want to do this now. And I think I want to do that now. And because you don't really have a vision, or a
Yes.
plan to go for it, now you're just all over the place. So when somebody looks at your resume, they're like,
What you doing?
what
Right.
do you
What do you want to be?
Yeah,
when you
like,
grow
Explain
up?
this to me, right? What I tell people is this, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? There are lots of people who go to college and they start with one major and it changes, right? I was one of those people. I started in computer science and ended up with a business management degree, right?
Girl, you
I
sound
So
did
like
not know
me.
that.
so for me, what I tell people is the plan is not cement.
Correct.
It is on paper. You might have it written in pencil and you're erasing things. There might be all kinds of lines on it and arrows and stuff in the margins and this kind of thing, right? You need to be able to update the plan, but you kind of have to know where you're going, right?
Mhm.
So, hey, what I tell people is tell me where you want to go. And then we can start the conversation. It's almost like peeling the layers back on the onion, right? I want
Mhm.
to be a nurse. Okay, I know that's in the health field, right?
Right.
What type of nurse do you want to be? Oh, I don't like people. Okay, so do you want to be a nurse for babies? Yeah, that's probably it, right? You have to start
Somewhere.
somewhere, and then, once you start, then you can kind of take that and expand it and create different options, right? You can change the plan, but you can't start as a pediatric nurse and end up being a horse trainer. Like, it doesn't happen like that, right? So I'm not saying that you can't change what you want. That pediatric nurse may end up being, a dentist, or may up end up being a school teacher, right? But at the same token, you need to have a plan. What do you want to try first? It's like I talk to my kids. What do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. Oh, why you asking me to do too much? That's the 15-year-old, right? Life is so hard and so complicated.
Right.
So I have to ask her, like, what do you want to try? Because there's 1,000 things that you probably don't want to do, right? Don't give me that list. Give me the list of 2 or 3 things that you think you want to try, the things
Mhm.
that you think you may be good at, the things that you are interested in, the things that give you energy, right? Don't
Yes.
go for the job because of the money, because if you are the best at what you do, people will pay you for it
Yes, they
if you're
will.
the best, right? So find those things that give you energy, where you want to jump out of the bed in the morning, not the job where you put the covers back over your head and you hit sleep
Right.
19 times and then you pray before you get up out of the bed, right? And you have to, read an inspirational quote and you have to have a playlist and all of this to get to work. Like, that's too much.
Look, I
Find
do
the
that
I'm
ones.
every
laughing because
day.
that was the me that was like, I had to have a playlist as I'm going into work. That's how you know.
I had that job before too. That's why I know. Don't do that job, right? Go into the job where you are excited to get up and go and do it, where you want to work with the people that you're working with, where you
Yes.
know you're contributing and it's building your skills. That's the job. And start there. Now, it can change, but you need to start there. And then as you're doing that job, start taking training. Companies pay a lot of money to offer employees book summaries, webinars, training, guest speakers that come in and talk about different topics. Take all of that, right?
Yes.
And then use that information and data and people to help you decide what you may want to try next. And then try it. And if you don't like it, go back to that plan and make some changes and modifications.
So
Whew.
I want to ask you because 2020,
Hmm.
we had a lot of stuff that went down,
Yeah, a little
and
bit.
It's still going down though.
yeah, but like it got kicked off. The rat-a-tat started last year.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Started,
yeah.
right?
There was some
So,
big kabooms.
oh yeah, it was off the chain. So like it's interesting because Kim and I, we always revisit this as we, started this podcast in 2019.
Hmm.
So even just telling people the name of our podcast felt a little uncomfortable, back then.
Yes.
It's like it's called
Initially.
Bold Black Girls.
Right.
It's like, oh, why not women of color,
Right.
or whatever, right? That was kind of the conversation back then, right?
Right.
And we're like, no, we want it to be bold Black girls because we need something specific for Black women. We
Yes.
have to
Yes.
share a lot of space.
Yes.
When someone says Black women, it's like women of color,
Mhm.
and all these different terms that we have to
Yes.
use instead of Black, right?
Yes.
So when everything popped off corporately,
Yes.
last year, and companies were now scrambling around to figure out what are we doing to address this issue within the corporate workspace. We got all the statements from the companies saying Black Lives Matter and we care about
And we
Black
support
people.
them.
Yeah.
This
And
is what we're
so,
going to do.
yes.
Yes.
And so you work at a company where and I know you moved into a new role
Yes.
last year as well. I don't know how much you want to get into that,
Mhm.
but from your experience and your perspective where you are in this role now, how has the corporate landscape changed from your eyes as far as like this professionalism, code switching, all the things that we
Oh, yeah.
used to think we had to do to be successful as Black people at work? Our hair needs to be straight.
Yes.
We have to talk a certain way and all this different
Yes.
stuff, assimilating, right, into
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit from your side. What do you feel has changed? Where our freedom lies, kind of now. I know all companies are different, but maybe you could just give us a little viewpoint and kind
Yeah,
of
so
how you
here's
feel.
here's what I would say. I have been in corporate America for over 20 years. When I started, I was a Black girl. I'm still a Black girl now. And I straightened my hair and I dressed a certain way and I code switched and I did all of the things to survive in the space and all of the things that people told me as a Black woman in a white male dominated space. These are the things that you need to do to be safe. These are the things that you need to do to get paid and have a way to support your family, right? Over time, what I would say is not only corporate, but the outside world has changed. With cameras, people have not been able to unsee unfair treatment of other people, not just Black people, but all people, right?
Right.
And research has shown and educated people who are data driven and need the data. They saw it, but they didn't want to talk about it. Those people who need the data now have the research to support that Black people are the most marginalized group of people around the world. You can't dispute that, right?
You cannot.
So, with that happening, and cameras and social media, and people clicking and quickly sharing videos of Karens and other people doing things, right? To put Black people in unfair positions, you now see that creeping into the workplace, right? You can't unsee the televised murder of George Floyd. You can't unsee that. It was shown on TV over 1,000 times in the first 18 days. You can't unsee it, right? And when you see it, if you are a human, if you are a human, you know that the treatment he received was unfair and unjust, period.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for me, what I see happening is this shift of your personal life now becoming acceptable as a part of your professional persona. Right.
Wow.
Before, there were a whole lot of people who say there are two LaToyas, right? At
Mm-hmm.
home, I'm this
Yep.
way, and at work, I'm this way, right? And now you're seeing this change to where you can be one person in both of those spaces. And so now people are bringing their personal persona into the workplace, right? Because you spend the majority of your time with the people you work with. And when these things happen outside, who are you going to talk to about it, right? So
Right.
when I started working, I went to the classes and they said, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about
Religion.
religion,
Yep.
you don't ask people about their money, and you don't talk about race at work, right? And now everybody's talking about all of that. It's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on Snapchat. Now LinkedIn has it.
LinkedIn.
Everybody knows everybody's salary. That's out there too. Snapshots, offer letters, like it's all out there. So what I would say is there's been this kind of migration, if you will, of the elimination of two personas and allowing people to be one person in two different spaces.